Hey guys, and welcome back. So this is the video that goes along with Unit 6, Day 7, Graphing and Converting to Slope-Intercept Form. Our objective is that students will be able to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form, then explain the steps to graph the given line. And so we'll do that using inverse operations and then describing our steps. So remember, we've talked about the three forms of linear equations: slope-intercept form, point-slope form, and standard form. Slope-intercept and point-slope are the two best forms to use for graphing. And standard form will help us with x and y intercepts, and we'll look at that in this way. And that's how we'll make standard form easy to use as well. So you'll be able to use any of these three ways of writing a linear equation to graph. Remember, we've talked about special lines. So we've got horizontal lines and vertical lines. Horizontal lines have a zero slope. There's a y-intercept, and then the equation will be y equals a number. So it'll look something like this. It'll go through the y-axis. So you'll just put your point at the y-intercept and then draw a horizontal line. Vertical lines have a slope that's undefined, and therefore they will have an x-intercept. And their equation will be x equals a number. So you'll go to the x-axis at the x-intercept, put a dot, and then you'll draw a vertical line. Speaking of intercepts, the x-intercept happens where your graph crosses the x-axis. So your y value will be 0 at that point. So it'd be like the point x comma 0. Your y-intercept happens where the graph crosses the y-axis, and its x value will be 0. So be 0 comma y. And so those are good points to remember, and we'll use that with standard form later on. So remember solving for y. So this is really just rewriting into slope-intercept form. So when we rewrite into slope-intercept form, we want it to be y equals mx plus b. We want that general form. So to do that, we'll use inverse operations. So when we're looking at number 1, x plus 2y equals 19, we're getting this y by itself. And so we're going to do that first by getting rid of the x. So we need to minus the x from both sides. Because the x is positive, there's nothing out front, we know we subtract it. So 2y is equal to negative x plus 19. Then we want to get the y by itself. So we saw a little bit of this earlier this week. So if it's 2 times y, we will undo that by dividing by 2 to everything. So that we get that y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 19 over 2. And you could have written 19 over 2 as the decimal 9.5, but we're just going to leave it as a fraction in simplest form. Let's do one more like that. Let's look at number 2. Same thing, we want to get this y by itself. So we're going to do that by subtracting our 3x from both sides, because there's nothing in front of the 3, so we need to subtract it. So it gets us negative y equals negative 3x plus 9. Make sure you watch that y is negative and bring it down with the y when you bring it down. Because of that negative, that's like saying negative 1. So we're going to divide by negative 1 to everything. So that gets us y equals 3x minus 9. And that is our final answer. Oh, one thing I forgot to do, it says in the directions that we need to state the slope and y-intercept. So with the first one, remember the slope is the coefficient of x, so it's negative 1/2. The y-intercept is the constant, so it is 19 over 2. For number 2, our slope is 3, and our y-intercept is negative 9. And so that would be the point 0 comma negative 9. Now let's jump down to number 7. Number 7 has a little bit more work. So To get into that slope-intercept form, we need to get the y by itself, and we need to get rid of the parentheses. So we'll do that by distributing the negative 1/2. So that's y plus 12 is equal to negative 1/2 x. And negative 1/2 times negative 8 will give us positive 4. So negative times a negative is a positive. Half of 8 is 4. We can then subtract the 12 because that is what's with the y that we want to get by itself. So that will give us y is equal to negative 1/2 x minus 8, because we'll combine those like terms there. So that will be our final answer. Our slope will be negative 1/2 as the coefficient of x, and our y-intercept will be the point 0, negative 8. And we'll use that when we're graphing. All right. So this section wants us to find the x and y intercepts for each line and then describe how we would graph the lines. So remember that with the x-intercept, the y is 0, and with the y-intercept, the x is 0. So when we want to find the x-intercept, we're just going to plug in 0 for y. So we're going to have x minus 3 times 0 equal to 6. Solving for x, we see that x is equal to 6. So the x-intercept is 6, 0. To find the y-intercept, we plug in 0 for x. So we have 0 minus 3y equal to 6. So that gives us negative 3y equals 6. Dividing by negative 3, we get that y is equal to negative 2. So our y-intercept is 0, negative 2. To graph this, you're going to plot, to graph, it's very easy. Plot the point 6, 0 on the x-axis and 0, negative 2 on the y-axis, then connect. And that will graph that line for you. So let's do one more. Let's do number 5. To find the x-intercept, we plug in 0 for y. So we have negative 2x minus 5 times 0 equal to 10, which gives us negative 2x equals 10. So x equals negative 5 because we divide by negative 2. So that's the point negative 5, 0. To find our y-intercept, we're going to plug in 0 for x and solve for y. So negative 2 times 0 minus 5y equals to 10, which leaves us with negative 5y equals to 10. Dividing by negative 5 gets us that y is equal to negative 2, and that's at the point 0, negative 2. So to graph it, we're going to plot the point negative 5, 0 on the x-axis and 0, negative 2 on the y-axis, and then connect. So it's pretty easy to graph from intercepts when you're in standard form. When it wants us to describe what each of these graphs look like, we just need to remember if they're horizontal or vertical. Since this one's y equals, that goes with HOI. So it's going to be a horizontal line through the y-axis at negative 5. I'm going to say at the point 0, negative 5. I look at this one, x equals 8. This is bucks because it's x equals. So it's a vertical line through the x-axis at the point 8, 0. This last piece asks us to label all the key features of the equation and then describe how we would graph it. So if we look at number 11, this is in the point slope form. So our key features are the slope and the point. So the slope here would be 1/3, and the point would be -1, -2. You ought to remember to change the sign of x because remember our point slope form in the parentheses was x minus x1. So we have to change the sign of the x. So to graph this, we're going to start at the point, -1, -2, then go up 1, right 3 twice, then connect. So you go up 1 because that's your rise, right 3 because that's your run. If it was negative, then you would either go down 1 or left 3, but not both. So for instance, number 12, our key features are again our slope and a point because that is in point slope form. So our slope is -1/2 and our point is +3, -1, again using the opposite sign of x. So to graph this point, or this line, sorry, we are going to start at the point, -3, -1, then go down 1, right 2, and connect. I said twice in the last one, and I only did it once this time, and you get to pick whichever way you prefer, but you do need to make sure you write connect at the bottom. So we only have one negative, so we're going to go down this way for the rise. And since we already took care of the negative, then we're going to go to the right for the bottom because that one is positive. So you only need to go one negative direction. The last example I want to look at is number 14. This is kind of in point slope form, kind of in no other form really. It's kind of in point slope form. So we kind of want to get it equal to y. So we would do that by adding 5 to both sides to get that y is equal to 3x plus 5. And now we can see it actually is more like slope-intercept form. So the key features we'll have is the slope and the y-intercept. So our slope here is going to be 3, while our y-intercept is going to be 0, 5. So to graph this, we're going to start at 5 on the y-axis, then go up 3, right 1, and connect. And we want to go up 3, right 1 because we need to remember that if it's a whole number, we need to put it over 1 to make sure that we have a slope, a rise, and a run. And since it's positive, we're going to go in 2 positive directions, up and right. If you have any other questions, we will go through those in class and work more of these examples as well, but you can always ask if you need help. I'll see you later.